My father was the meat guy. So I'm actually making these ribs today in his honor. I'm Kenny GIlbert. I'm gonna show you how to make the perfect rib. These are Berkshire pork, St. Louis ribs. What makes them St. Louis is that the brisket is actually cut off and the tips are cut off. So these are nice and meaty, they're big, they're gonna be juicy. The rub, brown sugar, granulated garlic. This has actually a little bit of parsley in it, kosher salt, smoked paprika, and then black pepper. There's basically a 1/4 cup of equal parts of all this. Add them all into one bowl. We're just gonna give it a little mix. If you do a lot of barbecue, you can leave this, put it in another container. You can make as much as you want. We're just gonna take the rub and generously sprinkle on the ribs. Doesn't have to be too heavy. After I kind of sprinkle it, I like to kind of pat them in, and then I'm gonna turn them over, and I'm gonna do the other side. I wanna get the edges of the ribs right at the bone. So as you can see, as I'm sprinkling, I'm kind of catching it with my hand. The membrane is right here. You can literally just pull this off. I leave it on. I like to think that basically that keeps the moisture in the ribs on the backbone. It's one of those things that I like to eat. When it's cooked properly, it gets nice and crispy. I'm a big fan of making sure that these bones are totally clean. Me and my brother used to kind of play, as most kids would do back in the day. One day, me and my brother, we came to the house and we tore through some ribs. I think we both went through a slab, and we didn't eat all the meat off of the bones. And we ended up kind of just like, took a couple bites and like, oh, we're done. Eat up another one. Like we were almost having a rib eating contest. We threw them in the trash. We went out and played. We came back, and my dad had those ribs out of the trash back on a plate. He said, I just slaved over this smoker, this grill for hours, and you guys had the nerve to take a couple bites out of these ribs and then throw them in the trash. You're gonna sit here until all these ribs are clean. So every time I think about ribs, I'm like, I gotta make sure these bones are clean. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish seasoning these bad boys on up. And as you can see, this amount of rub is perfect for 2 slabs. We have this oven set at 350. When you smoke, okay, the goal is to create oven-like conditions in your smoker. If you decide to try this recipe in your smoker and grill, do your best to try and keep the smoker around 300 degrees or so. We're just gonna put the ribs right on this half sheet pan. I've lined the half sheet pan with foil, and I've sprayed it with a little bit of pan spray. And I put the ribs, the bone side down. Let these ribs cook for about an hour and 15 minutes. We wanna bring the ribs to 195 degrees. At 195 degrees and fully rested, the ribs are gonna be actually perfect. I'm not putting anything on my ribs. I usually roast them or smoke them and let them just ride. Right now, we're gonna go ahead and make our poaching liquid. We have apple cider vinegar here. We're adding our peach nectar, brown sugar. Just gonna do a little pinch of salt, crushed red pepper flakes, gives it a little stir. I did this when I was on Top Chef. This is the fastest way to dice an onion and get the most out of it. I just slice it straight down, and I want this to be kind of a small dice, and then you come back around and you follow the contour of the onion all the way around. Just gonna slice the peaches into wedges, and then I'm just gonna throw the peaches into the bowl. We have the onions and the peaches, now they're pickling. I'm just gonna let this kind of sit just like this. I'll put a little plastic wrap over it and put it to the side. I have a grain mustard here, kind of like a spicy brown mustard. I have ketchup. I have brown sugar. I have cinnamon. I have some Worcestershire, a little bit of salt that we're gonna add, some canned peaches, some chipotle, and adobo sauce. So this is gonna have a nice spice to it. I have some more peach nectar and the apple cider vinegar. Let it simmer for a minute or two. We're gonna put it into the blender and we're gonna puree it up. And then that's it. I can just go right in. I can go ahead and puree. I'm gonna let this come to a boil and I'll let it simmer for a few minutes and then it'll be ready. This sauce I feel it has a good viscosity to it. My dad's sauces were never crazy thick. You have some sauces out there that are the Kansas City style that are really, really thick. We don't like that. This sauce is beautiful. So now the ribs have been in here for about 1 hour and 15 minutes. I'm just gonna probe them. And right now, actually, they jumped up a little bit. Right now they're 179 degrees, which is getting close. The bone is starting to pull from the meat. That shows that it's getting close to being perfect. So we're gonna pull these ribs out. I'm wrapping with so we'll put these back in the oven. We'll set the timer for 1 hour and 15 minutes. We wrap the ribs once they're about 165, 175 degrees. And then once we wrap them, they've been in the oven finishing up. Look at those bad boys. All the details for a good rib. You know, a lot of times you want to be able to have it where it doesn't totally pull off the bone, but it is still, when you pull the meat, it comes off gently with a little tug. I'm gonna show you how to glaze it. I'm just gonna pour this over the ribs and just kind of do a light coating down each rib. Glaze that really nice. That sauce is gonna run right off. And we're gonna close it up. We're gonna let that go for a couple minutes. I have my shelf on the second rack. Oh yeah. There you go. I like to take a little bit more of the spice. Rub and kind of get it where it coats. Kind of spread, you know, and that way you're getting that other little layer of seasoning. We're just gonna go ahead and stack the ribs. I like to hit it with some scallion. I'm gonna just hit a little more, boom, boom, boom. There you have it. Those St. Louis ribs. With another slice of, you know, homemade rub, barbecue sauce, coupled with some pickles. So now we have our finished ribs baked in the oven. We made a homemade spice rub. We have pickled peaches. We have our spicy chipotle peach barbecue sauce. I'm gonna go ahead and take a bite because I've been waiting to eat these bad boys all day. This is the perfect bite right here. One of the tests you can look at is when you pull and it just starts to come off. That's what you want right there. Yes, the spice and the sweetness from the peaches and the chipotle is amazing. Please try this recipe out.
Would your dad approve?
You know what, right now, he's been guiding my hand the whole time. I put the hat on, been thinking about him. He made sure these came out money. There's one particular picture I love is of my dad and my grandmother who, you know, both have passed. And these are two big influences in my culinary life.